There was an event in my school called the International Day where we can sign up for stands and you get to sell stuff you want to sell. Simply purchased star-shaped plastic bottles from Taobao, and then we sort of made sour cherry juice ourselves. Another feature of it was that we made stickers that were paintings of the autistic artists, so that we basically had those stickers on the bottles. That was like the debut of Y2Y Planet. Well, in fact, I started Y2Y Planet around 9 months before I went to Duke for the pre-college program. So pre-college in Duke was sort of like a place where I went to be inspired on how I can potentially expand this project in China, rather than somewhere I decided to initiate the project in. And back then we were still called Y2Y Juice Planet or Juice World. And then afterwards we decided to explore potential pathways. So I think one of the reasons is because my parents, they have resources in terms of juice because they do juice trading as business people. So after then, we then went to decide upon our recipe. And eventually after a couple rounds of evolution, we had our Y2Y Planet sour cherry juice. And after we decided upon our brand name, our brand logo, we started visiting like local manufacturers of the bottle and the caps. Further down the line, we had our product. We manufactured the first 5,000 bottles. Right now we have like a WeChat market or WeChat store for our online platform. Well, sour cherry juice was the first product, so it was our debut. Sour cherry juice is different to cherry. Like a lot of people confuse the two because in China, people are more exposed to cherry.
Guys, before we get into the podcast, 91.6% of you guys are not subscribed. So please do hit the subscribe button since it will help get even crazier guests and blow up the channel. So yeah, let's get back into the video. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Gen Z Fastlane. Today we have Jonathan here, who is a rising senior and is currently studying in China. So Jonathan, why don't you give a brief introduction of yourself?
Sure. My name is Jonathan. I'm currently studying in United World College in Changshu, and I'm a rising senior. I have a deep passion in business, and I am also a soccer player. So yeah, that's most about me.
Nice. So why don't we just start off by first talking about Y2Y Planet, which is a social enterprise that employs autistic adults to create food-based beverages, specifically generating them a sustainable source of income for adult autistic artists in China by featuring their drawings on bottles of sour cherry juice. So I just read that from your profile, and that actually sounds very, very interesting. And I also actually saw your post at Duke University pre-college summer program way back in 2023. So I assume that you started this Y2Y Planet in this program. So I'm just really curious, like what inspired you to develop this idea?
Well, in fact, I started Y2Y Planet around 9 months before I went to Duke for the pre-college program. So pre-college in Duke was sort of like a place where I went to be inspired on how I can potentially expand this project in China, rather than somewhere I decided to initiate the project in. Yeah, so that was like about Duke. And 9 months ago, I was like the 2022 summer, and that was when I decided to launch this project. It was back when I was still 15. And yeah.
So what inspired you to like start this project? Because I'm pretty sure many people will be curious on like why, cherry juice and why helping adult autistic artists.
Right. So I grew up in an IB curriculum, like where they try to cultivate community or social responsible individuals, where they actively seek out opportunities to help the communities around them. Well, in fifth grade, I did an exhibition project where I went to GMO to build like a reading room for the local community. And then back in eighth grade, we were asked to solve a problem in our community. And what I discovered was that a lot of people were wasting their food because they had this language barrier between them and the IEs who were in charge of putting food on their trays or their plates. So sometimes if they're allergic to something, and the lack of communication might eventually lead to them dumping all the food they took in the trash bin, which is very unsustainable. And therefore, as an approach to solve this problem, me and my partner, like the person who I worked with, we taught English to the IEs in the canteen for 3 months, and eventually it turned out to be pretty good. So those were like the foundational journeys that I had before I actually started Y2Y. And as for Y2Y, it's like a whole new story. So I have this mentor, and what she does is that she focuses on education. But then for her, back when she was 15, 16 years old, she also committed to volunteering in the largest center for all autistic children in China, and that was back then based in Qingdao. It's where I lived. And what she talks about in her speeches, well, most of her speeches, is her journey as the 11 ambassador at the biggest center for the autistic children. And one time I was listening to her speech, and I was shocked. I was like, for the past 14 years of my life, I've never seen an autistic children, an autistic adult in school, and I've never seen one in the mall. I've never seen one in a restaurant. So
Mhm.
I was astonished in a way, like how can a whole group of people be there without any of us noticing that they exist? And that was when I decided to do a little bit of research into like who they are, what are their current status quo. And that was when I figured out that 1% of China's population is autistic to a certain degree, which is a very large number considering the population of
I
China.
didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah. So that was pretty shocking to me as well. And after discovering that, I looked into what kind of difficulties they're facing. So usually in China, for the autistic population, the support from the government usually stops at the age of 14. So before then, they might have the budget to pursue education, but at the age of 14, for them, it's like a page they have to turn, and after that there seemed to be no hope for the family because they forget what they learned in school. Their parents will retire soon. They can't make a living for themselves, and all these problems are things that there is no current solution to. And that was when I started thinking of how maybe that I can sort of synthesize and to use the resources I have around me to find a solution for them.
Nice, nice. So was there any particular reason why you chose, like sour cherry juice and apple juice as your product?
Well, sour cherry juice was the first product, so it was our debut. Sour
Mm.
cherry juice is different to cherry. Like a lot of people confuse the two because in China, people are more exposed to cherry, and I feel like out of 100 people I talk to, only one will ever or told me that they've heard of sour cherry. And one of the reason is because in China, people prefer eating cherries, eating them fresh. But then for sour cherries, it's a bit too sour, and therefore they don't have any large plantations of sour cherry in China. It's pretty new or pretty unique fruit. And the reason we chose it, well, there were a couple of reasons. The first one was it has a lot of health benefits, including how it contains a high level of anthocyanins, which helps you recover from inflammations after long-term cardio. And other benefits include the distinct sour taste, which is something that current Chinese consumers are trying to try out, right? So they're now trying to try out more healthy stuff, well, the stuff that has more taste. So these are like trends that we figured that we might as well be a part of, and that eventually led to us picking sour cherry.
Nice. So at that time, like, was there any like core competitors to you, or were you like one of the only ones selling sour cherry juice?
For sour cherry juice, we actually went on Taobao and purchased every single sour cherry juice that we could find online. And usually, like all of them are imported, which means none of them are processed in China. They were all sort of in glass containers, and we tried all of them. Like every single one of them, if you drink them in room temperature, taste it like traditional Chinese medicine. Like it's like you have that feeling where where you feel like you're drinking medicine instead of something that's more pleasant or like juice-ish flavor. So that was like a reason of why we decided to add pear juice into the sour cherry juice in order to balance out the sourness and to create it and to create a beverage that would allow a larger group of audiences or consumers to be willing to try out.
Nice. Yeah. So something I just want to like dive deeper into is, of course, like you're 15. when you started this entire thing, right? So could you actually run us
Mm.
like the overall process on how you developed, from like prototype to, your first debut for sour cherry juice to like where you are right now, like, the overall step process for anyone who's also looking to create their own like venture?
Yeah, so before we established our official product, there was an event in my school called the International Day where we can sign up for stands and you get to sell stuff you want to sell. And back then we had no, let's say, manufacturer, we had no suppliers for bottles. We simply purchased star-shaped plastic bottles from Taobao, and then we sort of made sour cherry juice ourselves in the kitchen. And then that's when we decided to, try out everything to see if people liked it. And then that day during the event, it sold out in 2 hours. We sold 300 bottles. So that was when we figured that there's actually an
Man,
existing market for what we're selling, like that sense of unique taste and the sense of, drinking a healthy lifestyle. And another feature of it was that we made stickers that were paintings of the artistic artists, so that we basically had those stickers on the bottles and we were telling the stories of different drawings of who drew this, and then like what's the story of the autistic population in general. So that was like the debut of Y2Y Planet. Back then we were still called Y2Y Juice Planet or Juice World. Like it was like a completely different name. And then afterwards, we decided to explore potential pathways. I think one of the reasons is because my parents, they have resources in terms of juice because they do juice trading as
nice.
business people. So we were able to get access to those materials or raw material at a pretty convenient method or pretty convenient, what's a convenient approach. Yeah. So after then, we then went to decide upon our recipe. And that was like a very essential step. In order to have a juice that would be popular, you need the flavor to be able to be catering a lot of different preferences. And that was when we had different generations, different specimens, and I took the recipes to different people. We asked them to try and to give feedback. And eventually, after a couple rounds of evolution, we had our Y2Y Planet sour cherry juice. And then that was when we started to design the bottle as well as to decide upon our brand image, like what story are we trying to tell and what meaning is carried within the brand name Y2Y Planet.
Mhm.
And after we decided upon our brand name, our brand logo, and then we started visiting like local manufacturers of the the plastic bottles and the caps, and to make sure like we are finding the right ones, seeing all the designs. We had to pick which one was suitable, which ones allowed high pressure or high heat processing. So that was like after we decided upon our recipe. And then further down the line, we had our product. We manufactured the first 5,000 bottles. And that was when we decided to push pre. Before we had the product, we did a pre-sale. And then after we had the product, we decided to do offline sales where we focused on 2C. And right now we have like a WeChat market or WeChat store
Oh,
for our online, yeah, for our online platform. But then offline, we occasionally do uh, we participate in like say sports community events or and also school events where school host international days or family fun runs, and we get invited or we participate to sell our sour cherry juice.
nice. Yeah. So that sounds like a pretty long process. So again, like you're of course kind of young, 15. So many people, probably your friends, like many of them when they're 15, they probably aren't thinking of, creating some kind of crazy nonprofit for like working 3 years straight or, doing some startups, right? So what do you
Yeah,
think is your core differentiation or your core like motivation to like stick along this entire journey and still, grow Y2Y right now?
I feel like it has a lot to do with your passion. So what I would consider is being extrinsically motivated and being intrinsically motivated is two completely different things. Like you might start something because you're extrinsically, let's say, pressured or you're extrinsically
Yeah.
stimulated to, let's say, pursue something, but then whether or not you last it or whether or not you continuously pursue it while you have, let's say, the academic pressure or you have other things around you, that is all from your intrinsic passion towards what you're doing. And along the lines, I had the opportunity to meet a lot of people. We established, let's say, collaborations with one of the first employment centers for the autistic population in China. And we also established ties with a lot of seasoned founders and seasoned entrepreneurs because we had this product and we had this idea that we were selling. So I feel like it's very rewarding along the like during the journey or alongside the journey, I was able to meet a lot of people to tell the story of this group of people as well as to hear what they say about what we're doing. So yeah, it's very meaningful, and these constant exchanges with different people are what's pushing me to further explore what's possible out there.
Nice. I think I can resonate as well. Like, talking to you is pretty interesting, hearing about different stories and like
Yeah,
network
yeah.
young people, different young entrepreneurs, also pretty interesting. So in terms of, the future of Y2Y Planet, what do you have in mind? Like, do you consider like creating more types of juices, like watermelon juice or something?
Yeah, we are definitely thinking of redesigning the packaging. Like that's something we might focus on in the near term. And also, we want to use Y2Y Planet as a platform for teenagers to experiment with marketing strategies, a place where they can actually experience how to market or to how to sell stuff in the real business context, right? Usually they read about marketing, they read about sales. Well, they don't really have the chance to practice in the real world context. And this is where we try to, place or position Y2Y. It's like a place where people can put themselves out there and to give it a shot. So that's another thing we're trying to do. Well, in the long run, of course, featuring more artworks and then developing other types of juice are things that are on the list. So yeah, got a got a lot of things to do.
All right. So in terms of the platform, it's more like B2C sales, right? Or like also B2B.
So for the apple juice, it was a B2B order. It was a collaboration where we had their logo and our logo on the packaging. But then for sour cherry juice, it's mostly to see, but then we also sell it to businesses whenever they're having like a annual celebration or whenever they want to give it as gifts to their employees. So yeah, they would purchase like let's say 100 boxes. So yeah, these are all like big orders. Yeah.
Yeah, so in terms of like the marketing strategy, I know you talked about how you're doing like WeChat advertising, right? So are there any other forms of marketing like, I don't know, like Facebook ads or whatever ads you're running right now for Y2Y?
Well, not Facebook ads, and we haven't dived into advertisements on social medias, like other than constantly sending out WeChat articles on WeChat, as well as we have registered a Xiaohongshu account, which is like another pretty
Yeah.
popular social media in China. Well, other than that, it's more of an offline approach where we constantly host markets or we constantly participate in markets and we try to have people try our product and then sell it. So it's more of like building that connection with potential consumers.
So you also have like a white labeling option where businesses can also like sell the cherry juice. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep, got you. So I also read somewhere that you made like 300,000 RMB worth of revenue from 2023. So could you, if you don't mind sharing, like briefly describe like where you're allocating it? I know you're allocating portion to, to help those autistic adults, but where are you investing the revenue right now?
Well, in terms of investment, like for us, because sour cherry itself is pretty expensive, and considering the fact that we're donating 1 RMB for every bottle we sell, like the profit for us isn't that high. Like we don't have a high margin. Like we're doing this for the good of the society or per
Sure.
se, like to help others. So for the rest, we then donated to another organization that we have been collaborating with. So we helped them to renovate their whole kitchen because their kitchen is was in a pretty bad condition. and they were providing employment opportunities for over 50 either mentally disabled or autistic adults in Qingdao or in China in general. So they were like one of the pioneers of this whole action. So yeah, we've been collaborating with them, and we were donating the rest of our revenue to other organizations, including that one.
Got you. So like I know like from a personal experience, like I talk to a lot more entrepreneurs, like and when you surround yourself with more entrepreneurs, you get the opportunities to have, more opportunities come up, right? You might have like this offering in this startup or, you might want to join this project, right? So
Yeah.
what um what do you personally feel like you want to like get yourself into in the future, and why haven't you, done other projects and focus on, just Y to Y?
Well, because I feel like it is something that's worth developing and that has potential. So right now, I have initiated a hub or a club in my school that's named Y2Y. And over there, I get to meet or I get to work with people from all across the globe that has the same passion, like-minded peers.
Mm.
That's what we all say, right? Like with them, we're able to come up with new ideas and to experiment with things we haven't tried before. So all these new things are sources of let's say fuel that drives me to keep on experimenting more. Well, in terms of other projects, I've been to LaunchX this summer, right? So it's also an entrepreneurial program where we try to run a startup within the span of 4 weeks. So I've been trying out with different um, approaches to entrepreneurship. But yeah, like I've been dedicating most of my time to Y2Y.
Yeah, got you. So let's talk about LaunchX since you brought it up. So I think personally, I have
Yeah.
mixed opinions on it. Like some people think that's really good. Apparently, some of my friends don't think that is thinks that's more like a money grab. So what was your personal opinion on this and your personal experience since you've been to the program?
To me, I feel like it was a pretty fulfilling experience in terms of what I've learned by collaborating with my team and actually getting ourselves out there. So one of the major reasons that I signed up for this summer program is to experience the whole business vibe or business atmosphere in the States because I've been establishing different projects in China, which is that's pretty different than the business context in the States. So the fact that I was able to get myself out there and to sell a product or sell an idea that we came up with within 2 weeks, and that was pretty rewarding for me. And the fact that we were able to work in a team with great chemistry, and now well, you may not know, but we're still like continuing the project. Like we're regularly meeting and we're trying to carry this forward. So I feel like if this becomes or if this turns out to be successful in the future, well, LaunchX might be like the place where everything started to happen.
All right, yeah. So in terms of, comparing the, American market versus the China market, what was the biggest difference that you saw and also similarity?
The biggest difference, I would say the approaches to marketing is very different. Like how I approached marketing in China with Y2Y Planet and how we approached marketing for our company called Santa Vita in the States. So how like people's willingness to spend on different things vary a lot in between the countries. Like their spending behaviors and their preferences and on what they buy and things that they prioritize. Like these are things that are very different. So whenever we sell or whenever we come up with an idea, we need to be pretty careful of like or be mindful of how much people are willing to spend or how much people are willing to pay for the service or for the product that you're selling.
Yep. So the cultural difference, the biggest one.
Yeah.
Got you. So let's also move on to talk about the Wharton Leadership in the Business World program. Actually, that's a program that sounds super interesting. I might actually apply to it next year. I mean, this
Oh,
year I did
nice,
like
nice.
a CMU program, but was there actually like lots of great networking opportunities over there compared to like launch X? Like, what was the core difference?
Well, the core difference between LBW and Launchex is LBW teaches you how to analyze an industry or to analyze a company, whereas for Launchex, you apply those skills into real world contexts and you actually start something of your own. So back in LBW, what we did was that we all had a case study which we presented. We analyzed a company of our chosen, well, we chose a company and then we analyzed the industry, we analyzed the company, and we analyzed their competitors. So throughout the 3 weeks, we learned different frameworks for analysis. But then for LaunchX, it was where I was able to apply those frameworks into real world context and to actually extend what I figure out in those frameworks to strategies or to ideas that we can potentially develop on. So it was like one step further. And speaking of networking, I feel like both places were great opportunities for networking. In LaunchX, I've met great people. Like it has a more diverse student body with I feel like students coming from more countries across the world, and that was definitely one of the highlights, which was having all these meaningful exchanges with them. Well, for LBW, you get to meet sharp teenagers from the world as well. Like you discuss about the case study that was presented in class. So yeah, like it was pretty rewarding for both programs.
Nice, nice. So, like with the Duke program as well, like how would you say it was comparing to like the Wharton program in terms of like the networks?
On networks, for Duke, the pre-college program, we had a pretty small class, which meant that we spent more time together and were able to know each other better. And even though I don't think I am still in touch with any of the classmates that I studied together for the Duke summer college or pre-college program, but I'm still in touch with the professor who taught the course, which was pretty
Yeah.
nice. So sometimes or occasionally I would consult him on certain decisions regarding the future of Y2Y or Santa Vita. So yeah, like that connection that was established back then is pretty meaningful to me till this day.
How important do you think a mentor is in terms of like someone's entrepreneurship journey?
I feel like it's very important. It's like a because having a mentor allows you to seek or provides you with the guidance you need at times when you actually need it. Like whenever you feel lost, whenever you are struggling to decide whether or not to do A or B, you always carry a cost. It's either the time and energy or the money you spend on it. Therefore, having a mentor to let's say, walk you through how you should make those decisions or help you make those decisions definitely saves you a lot of time, energy, and money at the same time.
Yeah, 100%. So in terms of like your timetable right now, could you like do like a brief breakdown on like things that's going on? Especially, I understand you're pretty busy.
Well, for me, I'm a rising senior and I take IB, which means I have a lot of essays to write.
Yeah.
So preparing for school is definitely taking up a chunk of my time on my schedule, but then also I I spend time on Y2Y Planet, and right now I focus a lot on the club or on the zhixing, what we call in our school, called Y2Y. So a lot of activities. I try to plan ahead before we go back to school, so that's also happening at the same time. Other than that, I go to the gym if I have time every day for an hour and a half. So that's like something I try to do in order to keep myself motivated and then also to build self-confidence, right? That's what I think gym helps you to do. And then I read 1 hour every morning. Like I wake up at around 6:10, 6:20. I take a shower, I read for 1 hour, and then I start my daily schedule. So I do my schoolwork. I'm not currently studying for TOEFL as well. I go to the gym, I do more schoolwork, and I work on Y2Y. Yeah, that's basically a typical day Like after I get back to school, the schedule might be a lot different. But considering right now I'm still in break, like that's what I have on my calendar.
Nice, nice, nice. Super interesting. So when it comes to, like the future of your careers and, university major, what are you thinking of right now?
And I'm definitely thinking of business, and I'm also thinking of whether or not I will try to pursue a startup or an I would whether or not I would try to start up something on my own during my years in uni. So that's still something I'm considering, but definitely business school that I would apply to. Yeah.
Also the US, right?
Yeah,
Probably.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I think I'll be only applying to the States.
Nice. Yeah, probably similar here. So just to wrap things up, what is like one of the biggest advice you would give to someone listening to this who's looking to start their own nonprofit or whatever venture? Don't
Hmm.
pursue your passion. We get
Yeah, I know, I
and you
know.
pursue your
I know.
passion on this.
I think one of the tip is to put yourself out, to take that first step. I feel like sometimes you need someone or something to push you so that you can get yourself out there. Like one of the experiences I had was I made the first ever business pitch I did was with a pretty renowned entrepreneur in China. And then that was when I was 15 years old. I was brought to her with my mentor, by my mentor. So it was my mentor and then her and then me. And I've never done a business pitch before. Like that's something new to me. And I couldn't stop drinking water when we were supposed to have dinner. Like they were all eating and I couldn't eat anything. I was so stressed out. But then, at one point during the dinner, my mentor was like, "Oh, Jonathan, I'll talk about, tell her about your venture, tell her about your business idea." And that was when I started panicking. Like, but then the mentor, I think one of the reasons why you need to have a mentor is like they will help you guide, they will guide you at times when you need it. So when I got lost or when I went off track, they were able to pick it up from there and then to guide it back to what we were supposed to talk about, and then eventually guide me back and leave it back to me. So like that conversation was like the most memorable conversations I've ever had in my life. And that experience prompted me or told me that I could do things that even though I might not be comfortable doing, but eventually I have the capabilities to do it. And those kind of experiences are what actually tells you what your potential are or what your potentials are. So I feel like having those moments where you push yourself out there, where you have, let's say, your friends, your family, your mentor push you out to places where you might feel uncomfortable is very essential in terms of your entrepreneurial journey because that's what gets you to take all those risks and see the returns.
Yeah, really well said. So just getting out of your comfort zone and putting yourself out there. So yeah,
Yeah,
Jonathan,
yeah,
I
for sure.
really appreciate you hopping on the Gen Z fast lane. We'll definitely stay connected. Maybe also
Yeah,
like ship me a couple of those cherry juices. Would love to try them out.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Catch you guys on the next one. Peace out.